Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a different type of video. This isn't a universe mode, this isn't anything else. I've decided to do my own AEW Double or Nothing match card predictions for myself because I wanted to. I'm not doing it with anybody else, I'm just doing it by myself because I like to challenge myself to see which ones I get right, which ones I get wrong. I do it with WWE. So we're going to do it here with this. And I'm going to watch pay-per-view myself tonight. I'm excited for it. I went back. I don't watch it all the time, and I am now. Sorry. But I definitely am excited for AEW Double or Nothing. So, we're going to get started. Hopefully I edit this right. So, let's go. As you just saw, popped up just before, it's Private Party versus Best Friends, the buy-in pre-show, which I'm also excited for. Private Party, Best Friends, I like both teams. I think they're both really, really good. And I think if they went with Private Party, they would definitely have a more wrestling style tag team as champion, or as number one contenders. And I say that as in, they were kind of, sure, they're Private Party and they like to have fun, but they're, at the end of the day, they're not like the Best Friends with the Orange Cassidy and all that. The Best Friends are more of a comedic group than the Private Party. The Private Party kind of remind me of the Street Profits. They're funny, but they're also like wrestlers at the core, and the Best Friends are just like to have fun. Now, I could be totally wrong about that. You could say my assessment is wrong. But for this match, I honestly have to say Best Friends, because if you give the number one contendership a very if you give the Best Friends, the ones who are like in the spotlight more, the ones who have been on shows, I guess, a tad bit more, you would want them to be in that spot because it'd put more eyes on the tag team division. So that's why I'm going to choose Best Friends as the winners of the Private Party versus Best Friends match. Next up, we have Dustin Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. This one I'm not as confident about. I think, from my perspective, I think Shawn Spears should win, because I don't know how they're going to use Dustin Rhodes in the future. So if you're going to build Dustin Rhodes and maybe have him go on a world title run or a mid-title run, then Dustin Rhodes should probably go over here, especially if that's going to happen soon. But I think just for the time being of how things are going right now, I think Shawn Spears should win, because it'd be a good push off of, sure, he's been out of WWE for a good little bit now, but even the same with Chris Jericho, who's been AEW World Champion, Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley, Shawn Spears, they all, and Brody Lee, all have that WWE thing about them. Because that's just where they were, where they got a good bit more exposure, so it still feels like Shawn Spears is Ty Dillinger. But I think giving Shawn Spears and Dustin Rhodes a really good little long match, and having it run, and let Shawn Spears and Dustin Rhodes both showcase their talent, I still think Shawn Spears should come out the victor of the match. So for Dustin Rhodes and Shawn Spears, I'm picking Shawn Spears. Next up, Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. It was supposed to be Dr. Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander, but she is apparently out with injury now. So it's Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. And before Britt Baker was out, I would have said Britt Baker is definitely going to go over Chris Statlander and win. But now that Penelope Ford's in there, I want to give it to Chris Statlander, because she's been very good. She's a great wrestler, and I think the people in AEW really like her. So for this one, it's kind of an easier one, I guess, for me anyway. I'm going to say Chris Statlander is going to defeat Penelope Ford. Next up, MJF, Jungle Boy. This one, again, seems a bit obvious, I guess. Unless, of course, Luchasaurus and Warlow get involved and Jungle Boy gets a sneak victory, like a roll-up or something like that. I'm picking MJF because MJF, if it's just going to be a one-on-one match, MJF is going to win. but if there's an outside interference, could possibly switch to Jungle Boy, which could kind of bring on this feud of MJF and Wardlow against Lucha House Party. Lucha House Party? No. Oh my god. Luchasaurus. Of course, it's a Royal Rumble going on right now for WWE. So I'm like, Lucha House Party, Lucha House Party. No. Luchasaurus versus Wardlow would be a match that would come out of the MJF feud and Jungle Boy in that area. But no, for this one, I'm definitely picking MJF. Next up is the Casino Ladder Match. AEW World Championship shot. Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, Luchasaurus versus Mystery Competitor. For the Mystery Competitor, now that I see Luchasaurus, and I don't think he could get involved with MJF and Jungle Boy. But if Wardlow gets involved, I wouldn't be surprised if Luchasaurus ran out there. Anyway, I'm going to predict who's the Mystery Competitor and who's going to win. I would love Orange Cassidy to win, or Joey Janela, but I'm going to say it's going to be Darby Allin. Darby Allin is going to win the Casino Ladder match. Because he lost to Cody Rhodes, they're kind of... Because Cody Rhodes, I think, not Cody Rhodes. Darby Allin turned on Cody Rhodes, so I think they're going to kind of continue this feud, sort of, or at least not continue the feud, but like put Darby Allin in a prominent position, just so eventually at some point they can go back to Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin in like a more of note match, maybe something like that. But I definitely think Darby Allin, he just feels like to me he's been positioned to win this, and I would love Orange Cassidy to win just because I really like Orange Cassidy, and I'm sure that's like the John Cena of AEW, just I know him, I want him to win, and blah, whatever. I think Darby Allin's going. And the Mystery Competitor, I'm honestly looking at Drew Gulak, since he let his contract expire and did not asked for his release, so he had a 30-day non-compete clause. I think Drew Gulak would be a very good person to put as Mystery Competitor. I don't know who else they'd put in there, at least that would make as much sense. I mean, Drew Gulak, he is an incredible wrestler. Unless it's like EC3 or Heath Slater, I think he'll be Drew Gulak. And do I think he will win? No, just because... Like I said, Darby Allin, I'm picking to win the match. But if they put Drew Gulak as the winner, then he's won one match, and he's going to go into a rivalry for the AEW World Championship where he's probably going to lose. Unless they just decide to switch it up like that. But I think build Gulak up first in AEW, get that recognition, and then put him in the world title match. And I'm pretty sure that's an obvious conclusion, but that's just what I wanted to say about it. But like I said, Darby Allin's going to win, Drew Gulak's going to be the Mystery Competitor. Next up, Matt Hardy and the Elite versus the Inner Circle Stadium Stampede Match. This one I've been going back and forth on, in all honesty. But I'm going to, I guess, take the safer bet in the Inner Circle. I think the Inner Circle is going to win, causing maybe Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks to have a little bit more friction. And maybe turn into a rivalry, turn the Young Bucks heel, or turn Adam Page heel. Don't know, I just feel like the Inner Circle is going to win this match. I don't know how, couldn't tell you if they're going to use shenanigans, but I feel like the Inner Circle has a really good chance of winning the Stadium Stampede match. Next up, it's the AEW Women's Championship, Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida. I think I said that right. I hope I said that right. No DQ, no count out match. So, I've never been the biggest fan of Nyla Rose. She's a great wrestler, all that stuff. Well, I wouldn't say a great wrestler. She's a good wrestler. She knows what she's doing not to an extent, but she knows what she's doing, and I think she's really good. Hikaru Shida. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher these names. They're just a warning. Or at least the Japanese names, because I'm not good at pronouncing Japanese. I like Shida, but I think Nyla Rose is gonna win. They could pull a complete 180 and have Shida win, But I just think that Nyla Rose is going to pick up the victory here and go on again to either face Chris Statlander if she wins against Penelope Ford. I think that would be a good match. And if Chris Statler doesn't beat Nyla Rose, then of course Britt Baker is going to beat Nyla Rose whenever she's able to return. I think that, because I think it was supposed to be Britt Baker was supposed to beat Chris Statlander, and that was going to propel the two into a match, into a rivalry of sorts, to have Nyla Rose versus Britt Baker, where Britt Baker would eventually defeat Nyla Rose and win the AEW Women's Championship. But now I think it's going to be, since, of course, Britt Baker's out, Chris Statlander is going to beat Penelope Ford, and it's going to be Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander. Will Chris Statlander win? I don't know. I'd have to, of course, I'd want to see a little bit more of the rivalry. Right now, I think it's just a bit too early for Nyla Rose to lose anyway. And Akira kind of seems more of just a fodder challenger. No disrespect to her by any means, but I think in the whole booking means, I think Nyla Rose is going to put on a great match with her, but Nyla Rose is going to go over in the end. Next up, AEW TNT Championship match. Cody Rhodes, Lance Archer with Mike Tyson presenting the championship. This one I've been going back and forth on. As well. And I like that in wrestling shows, like, this guy could win, or this guy could win. I like the surprise of it. Because in any of these matches, no matter who wins, you just about won't be disappointed, because the matches will probably be the best matches we've seen in a while. Because they just like to do really good matches and kind of outshine WWE. But Cody Rhodes, Lance Archer, I think Lance Archer would benefit, I guess, starting career-wise, the most from winning this. But Cody Rhodes hasn't won in a while on a pay-per-view, I don't believe. And he's just been booked as that babyface kind of a thing. And most people are like, but Cody Rhodes, he's like Triple H and he's going to win all the titles. I don't think so. I think Cody Rhodes is a nice guy and knows when other people should go over. And I know Triple H has been, I guess, not notorious for burying people, but I'm sure in times where somebody should have gone over Triple H, he's changed his mind. Kind of like Goldberg versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt in Saudi Arabia, playing bigger cards in the back, I guess. But in this one, I'm really tied on this one, like really tied. I think Lance Archer would benefit the most, but I think storyline-wise, Cody Rhodes should win. So, going to pick Cody Rhodes for this match, not begrudgingly, but very But yeah, definitely I think Cody Rhodes is going to win this match, and is going to become the first ever AEW TNT champion. And it should be really interesting. I'm excited to see kind of how it goes, especially if Cody Rhodes does win. So, like I said, Cody Rhodes, first ever AEW TNT Championship match, and I do think Mike Tyson is going to either punch out Roberts, or he's going to turn heel and join maybe Lance Archer and punch Cody Rhodes. I think one of those two things could happen. I don't think he's going to punch Lance Archer, though. But you never know. Next up, and the main event of the evening. Sound like Bruce Buffer. Jon Moxley, the reigning, defending AEW champion, versus the Exalted One, Brody Lee. This one for me is a bit more cut dry. I think Moxley and Lee are going to put on a hell of a match. Just in the words of JR, an absolute slobber knocker. And I am definitely excited to see that match. Most certainly. Especially the Cody Rhodes Lance Archer one, because I love watching Cody Rhodes wrestle. But Jon Moxley, Brody Lee, it's going to be a back and forth match, definitely. But I do not see Jon Moxley dropping the title to Brody Lee. One, I think it's too early. And two, I think Jon Moxley just has so much more to offer in that role. So, kind of a short bit here. I don't really have much more to say on it because, like I said, the match is going to be a knockout, drag-out brawl. But I just see Jon Moxley walking away with the victory, retaining the AEW World Champion, And now I usually like to speculate. I wonder if there's any like big things going to happen in these matches. I think if Drew Gulak or the mystery competitor, of course, is going to be a big one in the casino ladder match. I think that's going to be a big surprise to people. Do I see any other surprises happening? Not entirely, since there's not much of a crowd to, have that play off of. So I'm leaning toward the Jon Moxley, Brody Lee. Jon Moxley goes over, and it's just Jon Moxley wins, and that's the end of the show. I could be wrong. I don't know who would return, or who would, not necessarily return, but like who would debut to challenge Jon Moxley next, or if they want to continue the Dark Order versus Jon Moxley storyline. I think there's a lot more to offer, definitely in that storyline, especially if Brody Lee loses. But to me, I still think they definitely need to build Brody Lee first. He won't be hurt by this loss because he's still got, of course, the Dark Order around him. So there's still way more to go for Brody Lee. But Jon Moxley's just had like this rocket ship tied to his back, and he's shot up through New Japan and now in AEW, being their world champion. Brody Lee still needs to find that spot. I do think if they drop him back down the card, maybe against Cody Rhodes, maybe they turn into a triple threat match: Cody Rhodes, Lance Archer, Brody Lee. That would be an interesting thing. But Brody Lee definitely needs to be built more, just in the whole grand scheme of putting him for the world championship. But yeah, Jon Moxley's going to go over clean. I think this is going to be a great show. I can't wait. I'm excited. So now I'm going to edit this video. See you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. I just thought I might do something different. Nice change of pace. But yeah, I'm excited. You should be too. If you haven't already, get the pay-per-view. Watch it. Enjoy it. Because you will not be disappointed from AEW. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.